Hello, welcome. It's so exciting to be at a panel where the subject matter has so much emotion to do with it. Music is simply the most universal language there is. There are no barriers to it. Everyone feels it. I don't care where you're from. When you hear something, your body reacts. So it is such a pleasure. Thank you, Abraham House.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, big round of applause for Nicole.
I have three absolutely incredible panelists with me. Wendy Starland, who discovered and developed Lady Gaga. Yeah. You may have heard of her.
Round of applause.
She's done so much that I have to look at my notes for a moment because I think it's so nice to know, and it's so wonderful to have such an accomplished female sitting by my side.
Thank you.
So aside from developing and discovering Lady Gaga, Wendy is the co-founder and president of Music Soul, which I can't wait for everyone to learn about. She also is in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Wow. Grammy nominated, as well as the UN Council of Global Change. She's written songs with major artists, maybe a few you've heard of, Black Eyed Peas, Snoop, Foo Fighters. Wow.
Thank you. Thanks for the kind introduction, Nicole. I appreciate that.
Humble, too. And Benny Pough, who I'm also so blown away. This is like, I feel like my daughter might actually think I'm cool. So please make sure I get this video because I'm starstruck. This is just amazing. So Benny was formerly president of Rock Nation, which, wow. Again, I'm looking at my notes. He also helped shape sound and the culture of music worldwide with hits with artists you may know: Jay-Z, Rihanna, Kanye, Travis Scott. I could keep going. It's really amazing. Thank you for all you've done to fuel my playlists. Thank you. Yeah. And then Joaquín Cortés, who I hope I get to dance with at some point. I think it's like playing tennis with you. When you dance with someone better than you, it really elevates the game. So Joaquín is the best flamenco dancer, world recognized, also comes from a background of ballet. A film has been made about him. This is just one of the coolest panels at the World Economic Forum. Thank you, Abraham House, for bringing it.
Thank you.
Okay. So I want to get into the questions, and I would love to hear from your perspective how technology has impacted the music industry.
I'll speak to that. I think technology has impacted the music industry in several meaningful ways. First and foremost, the curation. Right now, it used to cost at least $1,000 for musicians to get into the studio to record their album. Now, if you've got a laptop, you are able to create a record. And so anyone with a laptop or, any kind of music technology on their computer software, they are able to generate music, put it up on Spotify or any of the DSPs, and ultimately, you have all of this music, not necessarily music where people have learned the classic components of songwriting and song structure and learned how to play an instrument, but their new instrument is the computer. And so you've got this great volume of music, and the curation of music is now the most important thing to actually find the music you're going to like. And many more people can call themselves a musician these days.
And what's so beautiful about where we are now in music is the fact, and I've dealt with superstars as well as independent artists. And there's never been a time in the world where the independent artist now has the power to create and live their dreams. Prior to the internet and obviously technology, all of the power was at the record companies. We decided who could go through. We decided when they could go through. We decided how much they could monetize, when they could monetize, because we were the gatekeepers of the relationships. What the power of technology has done now is open it up to everyone. Some of you guys, I'm a little older than some of you guys sitting here, right? But you remember the days when you could actually go into a brick and mortar store and you think about it. The only artists that could go in, whose music could qualify to get in, were those, if you were in Tower Records, if there's 5,000 titles, you could only be one of 5,000, or you couldn't be purchased, you couldn't be seen, you couldn't be thought about. Now, with the DSPs, right, between Apple and Spotify and the other 200 that matter, everyone has the opportunity to touch the base of their consumer and also now begin to grow their own community at the rate and pace that they so choose. So technology has definitely opened up the windows for everyone now to be successful.
And I'd say, just to comment on what you just said, promotion has never been more important, because now instead of the couple thousand that you just spoke of, it's millions of people. And so how is an artist today supposed to get through the cracks when there are millions of people? How are they supposed to be found, when obviously major labels in particular still do hold the majority of the power to be able to promote those 3 to 5 artists that they promote each year? How are they supposed to compete with the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z's and the Lady Gagas of the world, and create community around their music? It's a real issue that I hope that AI and other tools at our disposal will start to solve.
Good point. So let's just dial that back for a second. There are only, when you look at Spotify, the majority of the major artists are the ones that dominate the majority of the platforms. So if we go back to technology and we think about where's the importance at, is that the individual creator now has to build on their own community. So to be a star is all relative, right? You can have millions of people who love and support you, or you could have 1,000 that love and support you. But where the power comes is that you can now monetize and speak directly to the consumer, which never existed before. Those relationships were controlled by the major labels. So is it operative to now think about your success as a star going to a label, or now knowing how to drive and promote yourself, whether it's in your territory, local markets, or in global markets?
Yo pienso, I'm sorry, speak Spanish because English. Yo pienso que es muy importante la tecnología para la música, para la danza en general, porque ayuda a que todos los artistas también, el mundo pueda saber acercarse más a los artistas, reconocernos más y de alguna manera comunicarnos.
He considered that technology is very important for artists because permit the communication and to know they are very known in all the world, and they create community around the world with the technology.
Thank you. So, talking about technology, let's go a little deeper into AI, since it's the buzzword always, especially right now. So I would love, from your perspectives, to understand how has AI been a powerful tool, but how has it created challenges? Because certainly as an artist and as a creator, there's a lot of conflict with the idea of AI. So I'd love to hear pros and cons.
Certainly, that's true. Pros are that people who haven't necessarily learned their craft can now create fully produced tracks. And so many more people can be part of the creative process. Some of the cons are exactly that as well, because you'd love for people to be able to pick up an instrument and learn how to sing and learn how to do these things, to be able to do it at an expert level. Also, people's name and likeness are being used throughout. They can just take a little snippet of someone's voice and have it mimic some of the biggest stars of today so that they can be doing duets with Taylor Swift, for example. So there are several issues that need to be addressed. Some more positives that can come from AI are the fact that they can be matched with the users who are interested in that style of music. So all of a sudden, instead of searching all over the place for what you want, there is a direct connection with your interests and your passions. So,
and I would agree. In regards to the intellectual property aspect of it, laws have to be in place in order to protect the artist. If you take the time to build and the resources to spend to create your brand, then there should be control over that. I work with a lot of independent artists currently, and what it has allowed though is the monetization aspect of it for the entry point to be much lower for artists now to take a risk and a bet on themselves. And in so doing, if you roll back the clock 10 years ago, for a new artist, it might have cost tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure out, am I going to be successful? Am I going to be able to get my foot in the door? What AI does now is help you with your marketing, right? It helps you with your writing. It helps you with all of the aspects that you would have to hire someone to assist you with at a lower cost. So once you learn how to maximize and manipulate the tools, it's only going to help you save time and improve your talent, because the artist still has the value, right? No matter how profound and advanced technology becomes, we still invest in people, right?
A mí personalmente tengo un poco de, o sea, me genera dudas hoy en día para.
For him, he doubt for the IE now.
Me genera dudas, y sobre todo mi pregunta, my question, for sí, es ¿a dónde vamos a llegar? Porque a través de la danza, con la inteligencia artificial, ¿cuánto de real va a ser la danza y la música?
He said that for him, he asked them where the artificial intelligence will affect to the dance.
To the real dance and musical genre.
I want to understand the question a little better.
He said that he agreed with that you explained about the limit or the things in the artificial intelligence, but he want to know in the dance, for the dance, how the artificial intelligence do or does in the case of the dance. He accept for the music, but for the dance, he say that the real dance that
the real, no?
So I think you would actually have to speak to that. I'm thinking about your question as it was presented. In the rehearsal, there is no one else who can be you. But I would imagine, right, as technology advances, we can connect and see how you move, you dance, your art, and that now can be captured, packaged, and transmitted to others, right? So That's how that would work. Now, the talent, just because we have it, right? We have the mimic of you, no one can ever be you. It's kind of like Michael, right? Everyone can do their own Michael Jackson move, but they're not Michael Jackson, right? But the technology can now show us through AI, I'm sure there's replicas of that would give you the opportunity to now study, learn, and develop.
That was answered really well. Yeah, it sounds like you could actually break down move by move and deconstruct it and relearn it. So I think it would be really cool to share with the audience some of the things that I don't think they realize. I think everyone sees famous artists or artists that they perceive as being famous and just assume that they are worth so much money and that the money is flowing and that it's just bottle service and, you know, jets and all the other bling. But I think there's a reality that would be very interesting and an insight. Prior to this, Wendy shared something with me that was incredibly eye-opening. And artists, when you stream music, you are only receiving 0.004 cents, and sorry to do this in American currency, in dollars, but I can't, that in Swiss francs, it's almost, why bother, right? But so if you deconstruct that, 1 billion streams, an artist would only make about $45,000. So you may think this person is off the charts because you're hearing them everywhere. And guess what? They're barely scraping by. So I would love for you to talk about that a little bit. I think there's so much education and people need to understand this and we need to think about how this changes. So I would love to hear from both of you. I mean, obviously we know that the biggest of the big, we don't have to worry about them, but tell us about the ones that are in between, because there are a lot.
Well, I would say that basically musicians on the whole aren't making money from their music. They're making money off of their performances, their ticketing, their merchandising, and the brand that they're building. They're making money off their ticketing, their merchandising, their performance, and the brand that they're building as an artist. And so when you've spent your whole life as a musician learning your craft, learning how to be great at something, and then basically becoming sort of a t-shirt salesman because you have to be out there hawking your t-shirts, making sure that it gets out there, making sure your personal brand, making sure you're getting all the likes and whatnot. It is, it's depressing for an artist because they want to be making money from their music. That's what they spent their whole lives becoming great at and honing those skills. So it is 0.004 cents per stream, less than half a penny. What message is being sent to artists? That whether you're Mozart or you're the worst musician on the planet, you are still getting the same amount, this tiny little fraction, less than half a penny. So I think that's something that I'm very passionate about addressing. And I want to make a difference in this space and flip the script. Musicians should be making money off their music, not only their touring careers, their ticketing and merchandising. But I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about it.
I agree with you. Long journey to get to 0.0004, a fraction of a penny. And we had this conversation the other night, And when you think about all of the different configurations of music, starting with vinyl, 8-track, vinyl, CDs, MP3s, and now we're at streaming, we've seen what we've given up, right? And to your point, when all of us who had the experience of going into a record store and purchasing an album for $11.99, that's how the pie was cut, off of $11.99, right? So if you lost it, you'd have to go and replace it. Or if you had your Bruce Springsteen album and now you want it on CD, you duplicated that again. And obviously there's a different pool of money that happens on every time you go. The difference today is you get a smorgasbord, all you can eat, for a subscription of $9.99 or whatever it is currently. So it's going to be unfair. And I agree with you, working with a lot of independent artists now, the objective is really to understand that music is just not about the art. It is truly a business. If you're good, that's not good enough, because you have to understand that you are now a business. So that's only gonna thin out the herd, because right now the economics haven't changed and we don't know what the future holds in order to do that. But there are still means of monetization. Vinyl, as we know with Taylor Swift, that was the most rewarding part of her release. Vinyl selling at $30. Think about it. Vinyl now sells $30 a piece. Who would have thunk, right? And in the grand scheme of things. And as you're building your career, you have to know what your audience is going to respond to. And also realize that each part of the development is important. You have to learn how to merchandise, or you leave money on the table. You have to learn that, you know what, small shows, how do you monetize from them? Or you leave money on the table. You have to realize now to register your songs. Most new artists forget about registering their songs with all of the necessary agencies for monetization. So I think as we're growing, and once again going back to technology is really important, right? Because that is going to be the defining line for those who are just good and those who are talented, and not just in art, but also in business.
I'd love to just have a little back and forth with you for a minute. No, just because I find it fascinating. Yeah. Because obviously the record label perspective is going to be so different from the artist perspective. How are artists supposed to survive? Literally survive. When 1 billion streams equals less than $45,000, why wouldn't they just go get a job at Arby's? Why, how are they supposed to pay their rent and feed themselves and become positive members of society when the message to them is, you're worthless. You're worthless. You're worth 0.004 cents. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. To get to the top of the heap, you're not making money off streaming. And I understand you can't be a one-trick pony. You've got to wear all the hats to survive. But I don't think that as a human being, if we looked around this room and we said, okay, what does everyone do for a living? Are you a lawyer? Are you a banker? Are you whatever you do in this room? If your commission was 0.004 cents, how hard would you have to work if that was actually your reality throughout the world? And that is what musicians are facing today. So I find it to be something that it's so important for people to realize that all the popularity in the world is not going to feed people. I mean, we can look back to, the biggest legends in the world, and they don't have that sense of stability through their music, and they feel like they have to tour into their later years in life, because what's going to happen to them if their brand fades because they're not touring? They're not going to be making money off their music anymore.
I don't disagree with you, and it's interesting the question that you posed, because we missed you guys when we came in the building at Island when Gaga left. But I would ask you, in the beginning, it was a struggle. It was a grind until you actually have success. So I think where the problem lies, right, until we're able to change what the mechanisms are and what we're going to monetize music for, is that everyone's not going to monetize, right? So just think about it. Now that everyone has access to the stores, I think I read an article last year when Spotify, because everyone now can, the three of us can get together, put a record together and put it up. Well, there's a problem with that, right? That doesn't mean people are interested. That means we have access to the store. So even if you had 100%, let's just say whatever rate you thought was appropriate, and I'm pro, I just want you to understand, whatever rate we thought was appropriate, if there's no interest, then it doesn't matter anyway, right? I think the fairness aspect, right, that becomes legislative issues, right? That becomes the pushback from artists, because the artists have the power. And ultimately, everyone has to come together in that aspect and say enough is enough, because that's the only thing that's going to change for new frontline music. Because think about it. Now, everyone's music is available in the subscription rate that everyone has become accustomed to. So it's not as easy on making the paradigm shift to say, okay, we're changing it today when everyone in here is accustomed to getting what they want, how they want it, when they want it, for what they're willing to pay. So I think it's a far larger issue for equality, is what you're saying. But also, it's equally important to understand the art, that the true artists are going to always rise to the top, and they're the ones who are going to have the voice to make the change.
Yo recuerdo cuando empezaba.
He remember when he started his career.
Mi carrera is in Paris, many years ago, in the Teatro Champs-Élysées in Paris. And I remember after dancing in the Brie Awards in Monaco con Michael Jackson, singer, me dancer. It's changed the life, ¿no? Pero la carrera de un artista tiene que ir poco a poco. O sea,
the career of an artist grow up step by step.
Y vas cambiando también porque tú tienes un natural talento que tú vas creciendo y la gente te va empezando a conocer.
People know you and your talent grow up in the different steps.
Y te van conociendo y entonces tú vas creciendo con tu carrera y esto también te ayuda a que tu nombre se vaya dando a conocer y que crezcas como artista, como un talento natural y que luego vayas, en un futuro, vayas monetizando todo el éxito que estás teniendo.
The talent and the success exist, but in the first time is low, and this money, the money and the valorization change when the artist is no one in the world.
Pero es muy importante que tiene que estar el talento natural para que la gente vea que tú eres diferente, que eres distinto.
A talent show that you are different. You are different.
It's incredibly interesting to me. Oh, I think we're getting that feedback again. What I do for a living is I build brands. I take something that may be a concept, an idea, it may already exist, but not be thriving. And I never realized how similar it is. A entrepreneur has the same type of challenges as a rising artist. You have to possess so many different skills now. It sounds like I watch young tech companies who struggle with telling their story, marketing it, knowing how to use digital marketing and reach their audiences. There are so many different hats, and all you want to see a company do is hone their craft. So I think it's very eye-opening hearing that artists have that same challenge. I myself did not think of that ever before, so it's really eye-opening hearing it. What I would love to know is, with all of these different challenges, what your solutions would be.
Well, I've been working on a solution for this for the last 2.5 years. I've created a music streaming platform. It's called Music Soul. We are still at pre-launch, and it is an ecosystem, not just a music streaming platform that will be a competitor to Spotify, by the way. And it will allow artists to retain 70% of streaming and programmatic advertising revenue. So on all other platforms, artists receive 0% of advertising revenue. On our platform, they will receive 70%. So very much like Uber, if you had a car, you had a job. Now, if you are a content creator, whether you're a musician, an influencer, any kind of content creator, you will now have a job. We put all the brands on the platform. So the problem on Spotify, if you upload your song, you have no idea who's going to listen to it, how they're going to listen to it, unless you've got a label promoting you to get to the front of the line. Now, we are going to be able to pair the opt-in consumers from the brands so that the correct eyeballs who are interested in a piece of media, a piece of music, will be paired together based on a set of shared criteria. And all of a sudden, they will be able to retain 70% of streaming and advertising revenue. So this is consistent monetary income that influencers, musicians, artists will be able to receive. And it's also solving a major solution for the brands, because most magazines are basically obsolete now. Everything's online. And there are barely any commercials because it's all streaming, like Netflix or Hulu or one of those platforms. So now people are going to be able to interact with the brands they love and purchase right there. It's like an Amazon experience. Imagine going somewhere where it's a one-stop shop. It's your music streaming, it's your podcasts, it's your tickets, it's your meet and greets, it's your contests, it's the charities that you're passionate about. It's a one-stop shop that has everything music related and the resources that you need to lead a fulfilling life and have sort of a whole experience. And it's a holistic experience. So that is going to be my solution. And I hope that you'll all join in with me.
That's great. What's become very important for me in regards to the independent artist space, spending 30 years working with major talent, superstars, and watching them grow from being somebody to ultimately being no one to becoming someone from a musical standpoint. Watching Justin Bieber come in, seeing Rihanna come in, watching Usher come in, and new artists like that, you see that the opportunities that they're given by the support of a label necessarily doesn't apply for an independent artist or somebody who wants to come in. I've created a conference called It's Your Time Business and Music Conference, which this is my third year in Charlotte, North Carolina, which actually offers all of what we're speaking about, bringing together the business end of the music business and the creative end. So what we do, and for most people who don't know, independent artists don't even have a place to perform. There aren't venues anymore because they're monopolized by the big companies now. So we give artists a first time they get on stage in front of major executives, media outlets, social media outlets, to now network at a high value opportunity to ask those questions, but also get an opportunity to learn about business. So we give them their first starter kit on exposure to understanding the business of music, because that's what's going to be really important. And taking that concept, pushing it out of North Carolina, US and beyond is what my ultimate goal is.
I want to let Joaquín answer that, and then I want to move to questions. But we've got to let Joaquín also answer this.
Bueno, a ver, yo estoy creando un proyecto, I created now the idea, the bigger idea in relation the dance, no, the music and dance, and this project is no creating around the world. It's the bigger casting around the world for the dancer. 500,000 people in the casting in 15 countries around the world. The 5 continents, 15. This project is you need dance and different style the dance around the world. You understand me? Okay. This is, I think it's an amazing project because it's never in the light, in the history. This project is my dream, my history is the together dance mix around the world, no? Classic, Arabian, modern, flamenco, people in Japan, in Asia, in America, in Europe, in Africa, together dance for un mundo mejor.
A world.
This is my dream, but now I'm preparing this project because I think it's very important the origin de la música from African, Indian is the origin music, is the first, and dance. My idea is
To
promote this history, no? The origin today. Y con las nuevas tecnologías.
With technologies.
Y poder desarrollar este proyecto en todo el mundo y que estoy convencido que va a ser un éxito.
To develop this project around the world and will be success.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Nicole,
So-
I've been told that your team has said you've got to be at the next event. I'm so sorry.
I would like Matt Bird to go moderate the panel that I need to be moderating right now.
Oh, wow.
Over at Mountain Plaza.
Wow.
I will moderate the one right after it. If you
Okay.
could go moderate it for me.
That's amazing.
Thank you,
Whoa,
Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt, yeah.
There we go.
You're staying with us.
I mean, how can we have people like this up on the stage and not take questions from the audience?
That's amazing,
Because
Nicole.
you are
Thank
as
you
close.
so much.
This is like touching it. Let's do it.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
gonna
wait,
go around.
wait a
I'm
minute.
going
I
around
know Patricia had to leave.
here. Okay, Patricia.
Patricia.
You have to leave. We're going to let you do the first question just before you leave.
Please,
Thank
please,
you
please.
so much. So I grew up a trained pianist and singing and dancing and all of that jazz. So I was born in the 90s, other era. But anyway, the first thing I want to say is that give your kids some musical background. Like music theory, I think is the most beautiful thing ever I discovered. We were talking about writing the other day, and I think musical theory also helps with critical thinking and all that stuff. Now I see a lot of artists such as Dua Lipa, everyone doing the sampling, extrapolation, interpolation, and all of that. And I wanted to know, are we still creating original stuff? And how can we do that? Because, for example, even in movie industries, we have all the reboots and all the time, all the same stuff. And in fashion as well. Maybe the last original movie I saw was Parasite. How can we help create new art, new original artists?
And I'm going to add to that, not just original content, but content that really makes a difference, that inspires people to make that change that we want to see. Can I ask that question? Who would you direct it to, Nicole?
I want to know who wants to grab it. It's a great question.
So, not to be our parents, not to be our parents, right? Think about it. When we were all kids, our parents would say, "What? That music you're listening to, that's not good music.
Absolutely.
That's not the
I
music
remember
we
that.
like." Right?
My
So it's like the
ex-husband says
commercial
that
now.
too.
What is it, Affleck or whatever it is? You don't want to be your parents now. So it's a new day. It's the kids' turn, and they're expressing themselves. The music we appreciate, and what's so great about technology, if I want to hear true Latin music, I can source it. I can tap into it. If I want to hear pure African music, I can source it. I can tap into it. So there's still people who are creating the natural forms of music that you enjoy. It just may not be popular, right? So
That's really
it
interesting.
doesn't matter that you like or dislike. It's just that it's available.
Thank you so much. Next question. We've got a question over here. I'm going to run over here quickly. Could you mention your name, please, and your organization?
Of course. Hi. Thank you all. I'm John Moyal. I'm from Million Peacemakers in Montreal. So I have the great privilege of being a peacemaker around the world, but my first passion was always music. So Wendy, Benny, thank you for everything you did to bring amazing music to the world.
Thank you.
I come from a place, Montreal, where we support artists and where artists can live and have a life without actually earning that money from the market because the government supports them. There are a few places around the world where that happens. You didn't necessarily make the distinction between recording artists and performing artists, right? Joaquín is a performing artist. He doesn't have any recorded material that he can monetize. Musicians maybe are moving into an evolved world where their produced material will not be worth anything or will be available like water or like air. We're all in the post-Napster world. I remember when Napster came out. Could it be that actually we just need to rethink how musicians make money and that streaming is just a stopgap between now and the future of what we need to do in order to support artists as a vital fabric of our culture?
So there's multiple different pieces of what you asked. So yes, for the last part, artists, we should look at the streaming aspect right now only as a loss leader, right? What does the music do? The music actually makes an artist popular. And that's relative, right, in popularity. You could have a fan base of 10 people or 1 million people. But what it allows you now is to get out and begin the process to move. So the monetization, as you said, we need to definitely lean in on how we can rectify that if there's a way to do so. But I think the larger point that you make is how do countries, how do cities, how do states now support the artist's vision and giving them access to support themselves as they're pursuing their art.
Amazing.
Yeah,
One more
and
question.
I would just like to add to that is that if you look throughout any art form throughout history, Michelangelo had patrons. And so he had the comfort inside to know that he was going to be able to have a roof over his head and a meal on his table regardless, because he had a patron paying for it and the stability of that. And so once artists have the financial stability provided through a platform like Music Soul that will give them 70% of streaming so that it's not a loss leader anymore, they will be able to experiment with different kinds of music because they're not going to be, for lack of a better word, sucking up to the A&R guys to sign them, who all mainly want to copy the last hot thing that was a big thing because they want to keep on hold on to their jobs. It's right now very fear driven. And once they have that kind of financial stability, they're going to be able to really succeed in the world and explore brand new styles, as our last question touched on, and have the confidence to know that their meals will be there. There will be a roof over their head, and their music won't be a lost leader anymore.
So another question as well. One of the things Abraham House is all about is getting the message out to try and make people change opinions and make social impact that way. Obviously, storytelling does that. What role can songwriters and artists play in, I guess, helping people change opinions and think a differently and change society? And to add to that, which artists do you think are doing it best at the moment?
I mean, I love classic music, so I think Bono does a great job of it. I mean, Michael Jackson, God rest his soul, was a great storyteller in terms of making a change. But I think artists do it all the time, and I think that there are lots of popular artists who are trying to use their voice to make an impact on the world, and those are a couple of my favorites. What about yours, Benny?
Well, I won't go so far as excluding any individual artist since I've been with so many, right? But I will say this, though, and I agree with you, Wendy. Artists do it every day. Even if you think about the American elections, regardless what side you were on, there were artists that supported a vision. And the people who support them are the first entry point for helping movements continue to move, right? Who you align yourself with, how the songs speak to the heart and speak to the soul and speak to the minds of your followers. So I think that's still the beautiful thing about artistry, is that artists are so impactful in our communities.
Beautifully said.
La música y la danza son inmortales. La política es pasajera y el arte prevalece por encima del bien y del mal.
Yeah, say that. No, it's the dance and music are immortal, and the politics pass, and the music and the dance are always
Inmortal in the world, in the history.